Good morning and welcome back to the Bartley Broadcast, my personal show where I talk about everything going on in the world of entertainment, stuff that I've been reading, stuff that I've been watching, stuff that's going on in the movie world primarily. I talk about a little bit of TV, get a little bit personal sometimes. That's the basis of this show, so let's get started. Thank you to anyone who has been watching these last two episodes, and thank you to any new viewers this week. I am your host, of course, Jacob Bartley, and this is episode number 3. I gotta say, I've been loving doing these episodes. I've been wanting to start a show for a long time, finally started it, and while I'm doing it, I'm just locked in and having so much fun doing it. It's something that I really enjoy, and just preparing for it, doing all the notes, everything that has to do with doing this show is something that I just love. And the thing is, I wanted to kind of model it after like a sports talk show, in a way where, when you tune into ESPN or Fox Radio, whatever, and you have these guys who have their own show for 3 hours. Of course, I'm not going to do a 3-hour show. And of course, I'm not on every morning because I don't get paid to do this. I don't have time for that. But for me, if I could do a 30-minute show every Friday morning, that's great. And that's kind of what I'm modeling it after. Maybe in the future, I'll adapt it, make it longer, have more time, maybe do more episodes a week, start having guests on and stuff like that. But for now, I just love talking with me and you, the viewer / listener. And one thing I kind of skipped over last week, because I feel like I was in a hurry last week, is I do want to take a little bit of time to just get a little personal, talk about what's going on with me, because I didn't do that last week. And it's not I know people tune in to hear about movies and hear about entertainment, comics, and stuff like that. But I'm talking 1 or 2 minutes to update on how my week has been. So my week has been busy as hell. I started a new job. School just started up a few weeks ago, and my first job is still, I'm always doing that, but I started a new second job, and it's actually it's a teaching gig, kind of. I'm not a teacher, but I basically go to after school programs for kids, and I teach them how to build pirate ship rides with Connects and Legos and stuff like that in Lego homes. It's really cool, and I really enjoy it. It's just with my first job and that job and school and football and fantasy football and then doing this YouTube channel, it's a lot of stuff, but I wouldn't have it any other way. I love staying busy. I would rather be busy than not be doing anything at all. But it's just crazy. For example, it affects me so much. I only have one comic to talk about today because I have 6 comics that I picked up from the comic book store on Wednesday, but I didn't have time to read them. So I'm going to talk about one comic today, which is fine because we got a bunch of news topics to talk about today. One more thing before I get into that, I do want to talk about collectibles a little bit too, because as you can see in the background, I have a lot of collectible stuff, a lot of Star Wars toys, obviously Blu-rays and stuff like that, posters, pop figures, action figures right above me right here. That's Grand Admiral Thrawn. You can't really see him right there, but I have a bunch of stuff. So basically, whenever I buy something new, I want to show you guys. So I got this, which I'm so excited about. The Yoda Last Jedi. Not that he's going to be in The Last Jedi, but this is the toy line that came out with The Last Jedi toys. And on Force Friday, when these came out, you couldn't find a Yoda one anywhere. And I was looking them up online on the day of Force Friday, and people were charging $30 for them. So I went to Walmart, and this is what I do because they always re-release stuff. They always are restocking the toy aisles. So I went to Walmart the other day, found the Yoda one. Awesome. I'm looking for the Obi-Wan one. I'm going to go to Target later today and see if I can find the Obi-Wan, because they have an Obi-Wan, and we all know, I know Obi-Wan is my favorite character. And I actually picked this up last week. It is a Hermione Granger pop figure. I love Hermione Granger. I love Emma Watson. I actually wasn't a big Harry Potter fan until recently. I only saw the first 3 when I was a kid, and I kind of grew out of them. But last year, or was it earlier this year or last year? Recently, within the past year, I met a friend I made a new friend at school, and she's a huge diehard Harry Potter fan, and I binge watched them all with her. I love the Harry Potter franchise now. I love those movies. I didn't think I would love them so much. So anyways, that's why I got that Hermione Granger pop figure. All right, enough with me. Let's get to the entertainment topics of the week. Well, first starting with what I've been watching this week. I haven't watched much. No new releases yet. I'm going to see Mother in a few hours, and I'm really excited about it. So we'll have a review up for that later this weekend. But I did start rewatching the It TV series, limited miniseries. And I was curious because I watched the theatrical It, and I loved it. And I watched the miniseries a bunch of times when I was a kid. It's part of the reason why I'm terrified of clowns. So I wanted to go back and watch it, and I understand why it's iconic, because for that generation when it came out, it was terrifying. And don't get me wrong, Tim Curry is still terrifying as Pennywise. Like, if he came up to me in the streets, I would freak out. But just watching this as a movie, it's just cheesy to me. The miniseries is just cheesy to me. Like, it's not scary. I was watching it in my room, nighttime, and I'm just like, I'm not fazed really. Like, it's still creepy. Don't get me wrong. Like, it's unsettling still. But it's just not scary anymore. The new movie is scary as hell. Like, I'm not as afraid of Tim Curry's Pennywise as I am of Bill Skarsgård's. Bill Skarsgård's Pennywise, like, if Tim Curry's Pennywise tried to come after me, I feel like I could fight him. Like, not that I would win that fight, but I'm just saying, like, I feel like I could take him on. If Bill Skarsgård's Pennywise came after me, I would shit my pants. Like, I don't know what the hell I would just die of fright. So that's how I differentiate the miniseries to the new movie. I think the new movie is amazing. I can't wait to go watch it again. But one thing that's not amazing that I watched, something that I was really looking forward to, is the Batman and Harley Quinn animated movie, the DC animated film. And I wanted to go watch it in theaters because it had like a one-night theatrical release, and I really wanted to go watch it. I finally got it on Redbox. It's a terrible movie. It feels like a 10-year-old made this movie. I'm sorry. I don't care if it's just, it's just an animated film. Let's just have fun with this. No. You can make these movies good. Have you seen Justice League War? The DC animated film? That is great in my opinion. I loved that. There's so many of these DC animated films that are great. Flashpoint was great. Throne of Atlantis was awesome. So many of these DC animated films are awesome. This Batman and Harley Quinn is a disgrace to all the characters involved. I hated it. It was disgusting. Like, I don't want to talk too much shit about it, but it's just like, it's just, there's fart jokes and so much sexual implications and all this stuff. It's like, why did they make it? I don't understand. It's like, I'm sure some kids went and watched it in the movie theater with their dad or whatever, and it's just like kind of inappropriate at some parts. It's just, and I'm okay with inappropriate stuff. Trust me. You'll find out about that later on the show when I talk about my editorial segment. But it's just like, man, how did they make such a shitty movie? Like, I guarantee I could have made a better Batman and Harley Quinn animated film. Like, I could have written a better script than that. That's just my opinion. All right, enough with that stuff. Oh, this kind of segues into my first topic, which is DC, and Nightwing was in the Batman and Harley Quinn movie. And this is about director Chris McKay talking about his Nightwing film. And I kind of forgot about this movie. Like, I know they announced that they're working on it and Chris McKay is directing it, the director of the Lego Batman movie, which I absolutely love. So he talked about this movie, and it just reminded me that it's coming out. He had a bunch of quotes, a lot of quotes. If you want to go read the full article, I said just go to collider.com. You can find the whole article there. But there's this one quote that stuck out to me, and I'm going to go ahead and read it right now. So this is Chris McKay talking about his Nightwing movie. Quote, "It's going to be fucking badass action movie with a lot of heart and emotion. It's going to be crazy, fun ride. Whoever gets cast as Nightwing and any of the other actors around are going to go through a fucking boot camp experience because it's going to be a lot. I'm not going to do a lot of CG. It's going to be all real shit. It's going to be real stunt work, and they're going to need to do all of the stuff on camera and do it credibly." Now, there's a lot of quotes from this article, like I said, but this quote in particular really, really, really excites me. Like, don't get me wrong, I love the CG in movies when it looks great, but we have so many movies that are like CG heavy, like the Avengers films, pretty much most superhero movies. And I'm really curious to have Nightwing Dick Grayson on the screen. Like, I really want to see that. So the fact that we're going to get like a gritty, like realistic take on Nightwing where we're not dealing with magical creatures and stuff like that, it seems to me like it's kind of going to be kind of like the Daredevil TV series in a way, like to where it's just a guy who doesn't have powers, who could just physically fight and just be a badass in that way. Like, I love that. And I love that he's saying he's going to put the actors through boot camp. This guy sounds intense, and I really like his take on this, the way what he's going for with this Nightwing movie. Now, I'm curious, though, when is this Nightwing movie coming out? I'm not going to start getting excited until... Man, I don't even want to say until they give a release date, because DC has announced so many release dates and then we never see those movies come out, or they get pushed back or something like that. Once they start filming is when I'll start getting excited about this movie. I'm still, don't get me wrong, the idea of it I'm excited about, but I'll get really excited once they start filming this movie, because I think Dick Grayson deserves his chance on the big screen. They're not going to do little teenage Robin. They're going to do Nightwing, and that's something that I would really love to see. Alright, so as you all heard, it's not a secret, J.J. Abrams is going to be directing Star Wars Episode 9 and writing it with Chris Terrio. And also, the release date switched to December 20th, 2019. Man, so my last Bartley broadcast was talking about who should direct Star Wars Episode 9. And I threw names around like Ava DuVernay, stuff like that. And I thought Rian Johnson was going to do it for sure. But J.J. Abrams is coming back. And I didn't even think, like, I did think about this a little bit, but I never considered it as a real possibility. And now that it's been announced, I'm okay with it. Like, that's awesome. If you think about this, look, a lot of people talk shit about The Force Awakens, but I think it's kind of like a mob mentality to where, like, because I know casual movie-going fans who are my friends who, like, because I heard all of it. I heard, oh, Force Awakens is just a remake of A New Hope. And I'm like, no, it's not. Did you watch the effing movie? It is not at all. It has certain similar elements. But you could say that about every movie that comes out has similar elements to other movies. Even within the same franchise, whatever. But The Force Awakens is amazing. And this is all my opinion. I love The Force Awakens. It is incredible. And it led to The Last Jedi probably being my most anticipated movie of all time, because you have the mixture of these brand new characters that I love, who I cannot wait to see. And also you have Luke coming back. You have the old nostalgia factor. All combined. And you had that with The Force Awakens, but I wasn't attached to Rey, Kylo, Finn, Poe before The Force Awakens. Now I am. So you have all this mixture. And J.J. Abrams did such a great job. You know how popular Rey, Finn, Poe are now? People love them. Kylo Ren, it's like they're already so iconic, and from one movie. And J.J. Abrams did that. He deserves credit where credit's due. Now, I understand why Rian Johnson doesn't want to do it. You know how much time and effort and just passion, blood, sweat, and tears come from working on one of these Star Wars movies? Why would he want to go directly into working on one? And this all makes sense to me because, look, The Force Awakens had a certain style tone. The Last Jedi has a different style tone. And you can kind of like top it off and round it out with The Last Jedi maybe having its own style and tone, but more similar to The Force Awakens. Like you have lighter, a little bit darker, return to lighter, because it's going to be a conclusion of a trilogy. There's going to be somewhat of a happy ending, even if it's bittersweet. So I think this is perfect news for J.J. Abrams to come and do this. Like, I didn't think about the possibility. Like, I never thought about what would I think about that if it's true. Now that it's true, I actually really like it, and I'm happy to see him returning. Speaking of another director who's returning to a franchise, Patty Jenkins is returning to direct Wonder Woman 2. According to The Hollywood Reporter, Jenkins will be receive directing and writing fees in the high seven figures on Wonder Woman 2, but more significantly, will have a considerably back end of the profit. So this is great. First of all, just the fact that Patty Jenkins is coming back, because I love Wonder Woman. I think it's in my top 5 movies of the year so far. It's probably going to end up in my top 10 movies of the year when it's all said and done. I love that movie so much, and especially in the past 2 or 3 years leading up to the movie, I became really attached to the Wonder Woman character because I started reading her comics. I started just watching animated films with her in it and just researching and getting to know that character as much as possible. So when it was finally delivered on the big screen, it was just something so powerful and magical. And I just love that Patty Jenkins is coming back. Like, she didn't have to come back. I wouldn't have been completely upset. But I'm so happy that she's coming back to direct this movie. She deserves it. She deserves to get paid. And I'm so glad she's finally getting what she deserves. And I can't wait for Wonder Woman, which comes out December 13th of 2019. I think they're going to move that date because there's no way it's coming out the same time as Star Wars. Alright, so my next topic has to do with the Lego Movie 2. We haven't heard much about this movie. We knew it was coming. The Lego Batman movie, while it was critically received well, it didn't do amazing at the box office. I don't think it lost Warner Bros. Money, but it didn't make anywhere near what the Lego movie made. So I was like, man, maybe they scrapped this whole Lego universe. But the Lego movie did great, so of course they're going to move forward with the Lego movie. And we got a bunch of details from a recent interview with the producers, McKay and Dan Lin. And they talked about it, and also Lord and Miller are returning to write. They're reworking on the script. They're writing it. They definitely have some time on their hands after the whole Han Solo thing. So I'm just going to read a couple quotes from the producers and then talk about this. So this is from producer McKay. So the Duplo represents Finn's sister. So the Duplo are the creatures, and this might have spoilers for the Lego movie if you haven't seen it. But the Duplo are these other Lego figures that show up at the end of the Lego movie that the characters that we meet in the Lego movie have to fight in order to save Bricktown, or whatever it's called. But basically, those are the sisters' toys, and now the brother and sister have to play together. So that's the context. I should have given the context before reading this. But so basically, McKay said, the Duplo represents Finn's sister. Finn being the little boy from the live-action movie. The Duplo is her, the man upstairs. You got to play with your sister. That's what Will Ferrell said to his son. That's the thing you got to promise me. I'll let you play with my world, but now you got to let your sister come in and play with your world. Now she's coming in, and that's the major thing that the movie is about. What's different and similar about gender when a boy plays versus how a girl plays, what kind of stories are there? So that's one quote. Producer Dan Lin said this, we're picking up where the first movie left us, where the Duplo have come from and they're attacking Bricksburg. That's the name of this town. It's several years later, and you're going to see the result of that. And one more quote by Dan Lin. Every one of our movies so far have been told from the point of view of one kid's imagination. The Lego Movie 2 will be the first one told through two kids' imagination, Finn and his sister. It's going to be really interesting juxtaposing those two different visions. And the Lego Movie is releasing on February 8th, 2019. It has Mike Mitchell directing, the director of Trolls, which I heard Trolls isn't bad, so I'm going to have to go check it out. Anyways, I love these quotes. I absolutely love them because, first of all, as you can see somewhere, that yellow box right there is the Lego Movie. I love that movie. It's amazing. It's like slowly creeping its way up my top animated films of all time list. I'll say it's in the top 20, but it could end up in the top 10. Who knows? I love these quotes because it makes sense. So we could have had a Lego Movie sequel where they just tell a whole brand new story and it has nothing to do with the previous movie. But that's not what I wanted. They set it up so well to where you had this young boy who basically the story is him playing with his Legos the whole time. So everything that's going on is what in his imagination. But we did get a hint that the Legos are kind of actually conscious and alive when the main character moves and falls off the table. Kind of reminds me of Toy Story, which I love. There's so many reasons why I love the Lego Movie. Maybe I'll do a separate video on that, but I don't want to waste too much time on it. Anyways, I just love these comments from the director because, first of all, are from the producers, because you have that element of the sister playing with the Legos and the brother playing with the Legos. How different is that going to be? Basically, they're going to be antagonizing each other throughout this movie. Maybe her characters are the villains because the story's about Finn and him playing with the Legos, so whatever's opposing him would be the antagonist, but maybe they come to a compromise at the end. I think this is amazing, and it also deals with the bigger issue of gender stuff in our society right now. And we all know the Lego Movie touched on our society so much. It had so much social commentary, which I loved. So now we're going to get this social commentary on, first of all, gender roles, and then also like the more or less serious thing about brothers and sisters playing together with toys and how that ends up working out. All right, a couple more topics in the entertainment segment today. So, how did you guys like that Hellboy image of David Harbour? I think it looks awesome. I love it. Look, the Ron Perlman one is iconic. Like, he is Hellboy. But we're in a new age. We're moving on. We're getting a reboot, like a lower budgeted, probably darker, and it's going to be rated R Hellboy movie. And I felt like the Ron Perlman one was great for its time. Like, I'm talking about the look. The movies, I haven't watched them since I was a kid, but everybody talks about those movies in high regard. I'm sure they're great. I need to rewatch them. I'm not talking about the movies. I'm talking about the look of Hellboy, Ron Perlman's Hellboy. It just looks so cartoony and animated to me. This one of David Harbour looks awesome. Like, if Hellboy were real in the real world, I think this is what he would look like, and it looks awesome to me. So I love it, and it was a tweet from the film's official page. I absolutely love this image. It gets me more excited for the movie. I'm not a big Hellboy fan or nothing like that. I like David Harbour, and I'm gonna watch it. But just seeing this image, like, brings my excitement. If I had to rate my excitement level for Hellboy before this image, I'd say like a 6. Now it's like an 8. So that's awesome. I can't wait to watch it. Now we got a couple trailers to talk about. First up is the Disaster Artist trailer. The James Franco film about the movie The Room, about the creating of the movie The Room. Now, before I talk about the trailer, I am a huge fan of James Franco and Seth Rogen, that whole crew, the This Is the End crew. I love those guys. They're some of my favorite creators in cinema, period. Like, that, I love it. So everything that they make, I have my eye on. This is something different. They're known for comedies. They did This Is the End. They did, Pineapple Express. They do stuff like that. The Sausage Party movie. But James Franco is doing this movie. And from what I'm hearing from the TIFF Festival, man, I'm hearing it's great. Maybe we're going to get some Oscar attention for this movie. Maybe James Franco gets nominated. And don't laugh at that. He was nominated before for the movie where the guy's stuck on a rock and has to cut his arm off. Why can't I remember the movie? You know what I'm talking about. Like 300 Days to Live, or I don't know what it's called, sorry. But James Franco's an Academy-nominated actor. And I think he has the potential. He looks amazing. Now, I need to watch The Room. I don't know, should I watch The Room? Let me know if you've seen The Room. Should I watch The Room before I watch this movie? Or should I watch this movie and then go watch The Room? I'm going to do one or the other. But I'm just curious. This movie looks so fascinating. The Disaster Artist. It just seems so kooky and funny, but also sad and like dramatic. And it's like, I love that Dave Franco is in this movie. First of all, like, I always wanted to see them together on screen, like in a lead roles. And I love that Seth Rogen's in the movie. I think this trailer looks incredible. It has multiple levels to it. It's going to be entertaining because it's going to be funny. It's going to, talk about the creating of this movie, The Room, and why it has such a reputation on being one of the worst movies ever made. It's going to touch on Hollywood and the creators of Hollywood. It's going to touch on egos and relationships and stuff like that. I just can't wait. It looks incredible to me. Another trailer that doesn't necessarily look incredible, but it looks very interesting, is the Downsizing trailer. So this movie stars Matt Damon, and it's basically about what if people could shrink and like just they would have so many more resources than people normal size. So basically, there's a shot in the trailer where the shrunk people have a bottle of like Kettle One vodka, and to them that's so much vodka, but to me and my buddies, we'll kill that in one night. But that bottle to the downsized people will last them a year or whatever, So that's basically the concept of this movie. Like, if you have $100,000 and when you get downsized, you have millions of dollars because you can buy so much more food, property, all this stuff. And it's so weird. Go watch the trailer. You have to watch the trailer to know what I'm talking about. But it's like, it's so interesting. Like, I love this idea. The only thing I don't like about this trailer is, so every story has conflict, right? So I love the style of the trailer, the music, everything, but it's like they show this and it's like, oh yeah, people downsizing and becoming small, and they show they bring the concept, to our attention very well. But what's the conflict? what's going to go wrong. Like, usually every trailer shows the conflict, like, or at least hints or teases at it. They did not present a conflict at all. I'm sure there's going to be one. Like, maybe you can't live that long once you get shrunk or something like that. There's going to be some type of conflict, but I just wish the trailer would have shown us what that is. All right, moving on to our last entertainment topic of today, and that actually has to do with TV, something that I really like to talk about. And I just read this morning. It's something that I'm really excited about. So Jim Carrey is going to star in a Showtime series working with the director Michael Gondry, who directed Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind. And before I get into the story, if you have not seen Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind, go and watch it. It's incredible. I've seen it twice. So I watched it once, and then I watched it like a couple days later with my buddy because I told him he has to watch it. And it's one of the best movies I've ever seen. I love that movie so much. I need time to, like, I don't let movies like, oh, I watch a movie once in my top 10 movies of all time. No, I can't do that. But this movie has the potential to do that because it's incredible. Go watch it, by the way. This is why it gets me so excited. Also, Jim Carrey is arguably my second favorite actor of all time. He's definitely hands down my favorite comedic actor of all time. But I think Jim Carrey, behind Leonardo DiCaprio, is my second favorite actor of all time. Just his comedy, his drama, Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind, The Truman Show. This guy can act dramatically, and this new show sounds like it's going to play to his talents very well. So the show is called Kidding. It's a 10-episode, 30-minute show, and here's basically the synopsis. In Kidding, Carrey plays Jeff, aka Mr. Pickles, an icon of children's television, a beacon of kindness and wisdom to America's impressionable young minds and the parents who grew up with him, who also anchors a multi-million-dollar branding empire. But when this beloved personality's family, wife, 2 sons, sisters, and father begins to implode, Jeff finds no fairy tale or fable or puppet will guide him through this crisis, which advances faster than his means to cope. The result, a kind man in a cruel world, faces a slow leak of sanity as hilarious as it is heartbreaking. Now look, a show, even Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind, has comedic elements. A show involving Jim Carrey is going to have comedic elements, but this is so much more than a comedy. And it just, reading this synopsis and the director who's attached, shows me that. This is going to be dramatic, funny, heartbreaking like it said. And I just can't wait for this. Man, there's some, between the Nurse Ratched TV show and this show, there's some potentially great TV about to come out. At least stuff that I'm really looking forward to. Let me know what you think. Does this Jim Carrey show sound good to you guys? Are you guys still a fan of Jim Carrey? Where's Jim Carrey been? He needs to work more. He has so much more to give to Hollywood, to movies, to TV shows. So I'm glad he's doing this because you never know, like, when you can't work anymore. So I'm just glad he's working again, and I think this guy is so talented. He needs to work more, so I'm super excited about that. All right, moving on to the comic book and audiobook segment of my show because I don't have time to read books, so I audiobook them when I drive. First up, I'm going to give my first thoughts on Star Wars Leia, Princess of Alderaan. This book is written by Claudia Gray, probably the best Star Wars writer going on right now. She wrote Lost Stars and Bloodline, which are 2 of the best Star Wars canon books that have come out since Disney started putting out these books. And this Leia book is amazing. Like, oh my goodness, how is it possible that I've done like 12 audiobooks, and depending on how this Leia book ends and how it goes, I'm like halfway through or whatever. So we'll see. But depending on how the rest of this book goes, how is it possible out of the 12 or 13 audiobooks that I've done, like 3 of my top 5 might be Claudia Gray books. Like, that's insane. This woman is a genius. Anyways, this Leia book, it takes place like 3 years before A New Hope because Leia's 16. And it's basically, no spoilers, but it's basically how Leia finds out about the rebellion and gets involved with the rebellion. And you get to find out why she is the way she is, why she's so strong, and why she's so brave, and why she doesn't take shit from anybody. But also, they stick to the true character from the original trilogy, to where Leia's brave, like, so out there and politically intelligent, but also she's still a girl. She's still a young girl, young teenage girl who who is insecure, who has crushes on boys, who's still figuring herself out. And the book has the perfect balance of showing a strong, politically intelligent Leia with the girl who's just figuring herself out. It's a perfect balance. So I love this book already. Depending on how it ends, it could end up being... I don't know if it's going to top Bloodline, but who knows? If it ends amazingly, it has the potential to be my favorite Star Wars book so far. But that still goes to Bloodline. How funny. Both two of my top favorite Star Wars books are Leia-centric, written by Claudia Gray. That's amazing. All right, like I said earlier in the show, I only have one comic to talk about today. Not enough time to read. If I read something this week that is worth talking about, I'll mention it on next week's show, because I got some great stuff to read, like Dark Knight's Metal 2, Mr. Miracle 2, stuff like that. I wanted to talk about them today, didn't have time to read them, but I'm talking about Kill or Be Killed number 12. Kill or Be Killed. It's written by Ed Brubaker. It's an Image comic. This is still my favorite thing going on in comics right now. Kill or Be Killed. It's so funny because I read Marvel, DC stuff. I read Power Ranger, Boom comics. I love it all. But an Image comic, a non-superhero comic, well, there's vigilante elements, but a non-superhero comic is my favorite thing going on in comics right now. And that just goes to show how amazing it is. It's incredible. Basically, the premise is this guy, and this is like the premise of the whole thing, not just this issue, but this guy, he's mentally like sick, like he's not like mentally challenged, he's just like depressed and sick, you know. He in the first issue he tries to kill himself, and then he doesn't die, and then basically this demon is haunting him, telling him, you when you tried to kill yourself, you sold your soul to me, the devil, or this demon, and basically in order to keep living, for me not to take you to hell, you have to kill bad people. And basically he goes on this killing spree as a vigilante. I'll leave it at that, but this is incredible. The thing that makes it so amazing, and this Kill or Be Killed number 12 reminded me of, is the first person narrative. It's amazing. And the breaking the fourth wall, because he basically, you see his thought process, but he's talking to the audience as well. And it's just, it's really cool. The things that he brings up, like for example in Kill or Be Killed number 12, this is not a spoiler either, but he's just saying, like, look, as human beings, we draw ourselves in boxes. Like we put these lines in between us and stuff that we can do, like achieving our goals, like hitting on the hottest girl at the bar, whatever it is. Like, he didn't say that, but I'm just giving an example. Like, we say to ourselves, like, man, oh, I'm not good looking enough, or don't make enough money to go hit on this girl at the bar. But it's all in our minds. Like, yeah, maybe you can't pull her, but it's possible. You draw that line yourself. And the thing is, he talks about stuff like this, and this is why I love comics so much, because they make me think about my life and they affect me, and I'm like, oh, that's true. Like, why do I limit myself to things that I think I can't do? Like, you can always strive for things that seem like tasks that you can't end up achieving, but you can try, you can attempt to cross that line. And that just reminded me, like, how much I love this comic and comics in particular, because they can reflect life and stuff like that within the stories that they tell. But I love this issue. It takes a new turn. The ending is great. What Dylan, the main character, is going to achieve by the end of this comic is awesome. Please go pick up the trades for Kill or Be Killed. You will, I promise you, you will not be disappointed. Like, you will love it. I mean, if you don't, let me know in the comment section, but yeah, please go check out Kill or Be Killed. All right, for the last segment of the Bartley broadcast, man, I went a little longer than I wanted to today, but it's because I had so many entertainment topics to talk about. I'll try to trim it down next week. I try to stay under 30 minutes. I'll keep this short. So basically what I've been doing the last 2 episodes is I've been going down my top 10 movies of all time list, or my top 10 movies of all time list, sorry. And I talked about Star Wars, and I have A New Hope in that spot, but basically A New Hope represents all of Star Wars for me. It's my favorite movie of all time, but it is my favorite Star Wars movie of all time. I'll talk about that some other time. And then last week I did The Avengers, and I love The Avengers. I don't think it's the best MCU movie, but it's my favorite MCU movie. And it basically, like Star Wars, like A New Hope represents Star Wars, the Avengers represent the entire MCU for me, and it's like I love that movie. So, what is my number 3 favorite movie of all time? This is gonna be exciting, if you haven't seen the list. The 40-Year-Old Virgin, the Judd Apatow hard R comedy. Now, I love hard R comedies. They're my second favorite genre after comic book superhero movies, and this movie is probably the primary reason I love this movie. So I was 14 when the 40-Year-Old Virgin came out, and I watched it so many times. Like, just the humor is so funny to me. Like, the style of humor, like the thing. First of all, this is the first time I ever saw Seth Rogen in a movie. First time I ever saw Paul Rudd in a movie, and like, they're superstars now. Like, this movie made them superstars, and just go rewatch the 40-Year-Old Virgin if you haven't watched it in a while. It is hilarious. Just all the jokes, like the lines of dialogue and stuff like that. Like, every scene you can just look up and watch as a YouTube clip, and it is hilarious. Like, the workers that Steve Carell's character works with, the setting, every setting. It's just, and it's not only a comedy, it is a dramatic movie too. It has so much heart to it, and it has realism to it in a way, and it's just so hilarious. Seth Rogen has some of the funniest lines in this movie I think I've ever heard him say. Like, this made Seth Rogen a superstar, and he deserves it. He was great in this movie, and I love it just because first of all, it boosted the careers of some of my favorite actors working today. Like I said, Paul Rudd and Seth Rogen, and it just has that perfect balance of being a dirty, raunchy comedy and also being like a feel-good, heartwarming story about something that could be realistic. So and the thing is, the raunchy comedy serves a purpose. Like, it's for characters and it's for the moments in the movie. It's not just raunchy for being raunchy. So that's a big reason why I love this. I freaking love this movie. Sometimes I consider putting it above the Avengers as my number 2 movie of all time. I love it so much. And look, you might think I'm crazy for having the 40-Year-Old Virgin as so high on my favorite list, but it's my favorite list. Like, you can't tell someone what to put or not to put on their favorite movies of all time list. This is my list. I don't think the 40-Year-Old Virgin is a better movie than The Godfather. Of course not. But for me, the 40-Year-Old Virgin is one of my favorite movies of all time. Like, if I can only take 3 movies with me, if I was on an island for a year and I can only take 3 movies with me, one of them would be a Star Wars film, probably A New Hope. One of them would be the 40-Year-Old Virgin, and I'd have to think on the third one. Like, I would love to take the Avengers, but I have to think, do I want something different in here? You know, maybe like a Gone Girl. It would probably be Gone Girl because I love Gone Girl. I'll talk about Gone Girl another day. All right, well, that's going to wrap up the Bartley broadcast this week. Went about 40 minutes. I'll try to keep it shorter next time. Thank you all for watching. I'm Jacob Bartley. You can find me on Twitter at Jacob Bartley _. And you could always find me on this YouTube channel, Apocalypse Movies, shooting reviews, doing all stuff like that. The Padawan podcast, Comic Hero Talk Show, doing movie reviews, Star Wars comic reviews, Star Wars audiobook reviews. We got all that stuff. Please subscribe to Apocalypse Movies if you enjoy film or entertainment stuff like that. You can also find us on iTunes. We put all of our major shows on iTunes. You can go find us. Just type in Apocalypse Movies. You can subscribe to us on there. You can download our episodes for free. Thank you all for watching. Again, I really, really appreciate it. Until next time, take care.